let me say something uncomfortable. If you're middle class and you follow all this safe advice you were taught, you will work your entire life and still never be rich. Not because you're lazy, not because you're dumb, but because the system you trust was never designed to make you wealthy. And Robert Kiyosaki has been warning people about this for decades. Robert Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, has a brutal message for the middle class. He doesn't say it politely. He doesn't sugarcoat it. He says the middle class is the most taxed, most stressed, and most financially trapped group in society. Today, I'm going to explain exactly why, using Kiyosaki's own thinking. By the end of this video, you'll understand why good jobs don't lead to wealth, why saving money actually keeps you poor, why the middle class works the hardest and loses, and why the rules are different for the rich. This might make you angry, but it might also change your life. The middle class is built on one core belief. Get good grades, get a stable job, work hard, and you'll be fine. Sounds reasonable, but let's look at reality. Most middle-class people work 40 to 60 hours a week, live paycheck to paycheck, are one medical bill away from debt, are terrified of losing their job, and will retire late or not at all. Kiyosaki calls this the rat race. You earn money, pay taxes, pay bills, repeat forever. You don't own your time. Your job owns you. And here's where it gets worse. Because the middle-class trap isn't just about working too much. It's about working in a system that was specifically designed to extract your labor while keeping you dependent. Think about it. When you were young, what were you told? Study hard, get into a good college, graduate with a degree, find a secure job with benefits, climb the corporate ladder. That's the dream, right? That's what success looks like. And you know what the most painful part is? The middle class follows these rules perfectly. They do everything right. They're responsible. They're hardworking. They're disciplined. And they still can't get ahead because the game was rigged from the start. Here's a harsh truth Kiyosaki repeats constantly. A job is designed to make the company rich, not you. Middle-class people trade time for money. The problem? Time is limited. Energy is limited. Health is limited. So your income has a hard ceiling. Even if you get raises, taxes increase, lifestyle expenses increase, inflation eats the rest. You work harder, but feel poorer. That's not a failure. That's design. Let me break this down even further. When you work a job, you're selling the most valuable thing you have. Your time, your life. You're trading hours of your existence for money. And there are only so many hours in a day. Only so many days you can work before your body gives out. So right from the beginning, you're trapped in a linear income model. More hours equals more money. Fewer hours equals less money. You can't scale. You can't multiply yourself. You're the product. Now compare that to how the rich make money. They own systems. They own businesses. They own assets that generate income whether they're awake or asleep. A business owner has 10 employees. Those 10 employees each generate profit. The owner makes money from all 10 simultaneously. A real estate investor owns 5 rental properties. Those 5 properties generate cash flow every single month. Passive income. The investor isn't trading time for money. They're using money to make money. The middle-class person hears this and thinks, well, I don't have money to invest. I don't have capital to start a business. And that's exactly the trap. Because you're spending everything you earn on expenses. Your paycheck comes in and immediately goes back out. Rent, car payment, insurance, groceries, student loans, credit cards. There's nothing left. So you can't invest. You can't build. You can't escape. You're locked in a cycle. And then society tells you this is normal. This is what being an adult looks like. Struggle is expected. Stress is part of life. Just keep working. Just keep grinding. Maybe someday you'll retire. Maybe someday you'll have enough. But Kiyosaki asks a different question. Why are we accepting this? Why are we playing a game where the middle class works the hardest and ends up with the least? This is where most people get emotional. Middle class employees get paid first, then taxed. Rich people invest and do business and get taxed last. Big difference. The middle class pays income tax, payroll tax, sales tax, property tax. The rich use tax deductions, depreciation, business expenses, legal loopholes. Kiyosaki says the tax system is written by the rich for the rich, and the middle class never learns how to play. Let me give you some numbers to make this real. Let's say you're a middle class employee making $75,000 a year. Sounds decent, right? But here's what actually happens. Federal income tax takes about 15%. State tax takes another 5%. Social Security and Medicare take 7.65%. Right there, you've lost over $20,000. You're down to $55,000. Then you pay property tax on your home, sales tax every time you buy something, gas tax, phone bill taxes. By the time you're done, you've given away 30 to 40% of what you earned. Now, let's look at a rich person. They own a business. That business generates $500,000 in revenue, but they don't pay personal income tax on that $500,000. First, they deduct business expenses, office space, equipment, travel, marketing, salaries. Let's say expenses are $300,000. Now, they're only taxed on $200,000 in profit. But wait, they also depreciate assets. They defer income. They structure things through LLCs and S-Corp. By the time they're done, their effective tax rate might be 15% or less. Sometimes zero. Same economy, same country, completely different rules. The middle class funds the government. The rich know how to legally avoid it. And nobody teaches the middle class how this works. You're just expected to hand over a third of your paycheck and be grateful you have a job. Kiyosaki says this isn't an accident. The tax code is thousands of pages long because it's filled with incentives for business owners and investors. The government wants people to create jobs. They want people to build housing. They want economic growth. So they reward those behaviors with tax breaks. But if you're just an employee, you get no breaks. You're the easiest target. Your taxes are automatically withheld before you even see your paycheck. You can't hide it. You can't defer it. You just pay. And here's the part that makes people angry. The middle class thinks the rich are cheating. They think it's unfair. They want higher taxes on the wealthy. But the rich aren't breaking the law. They're using the law. They're playing by the actual rules. The middle class is playing by the rules they were taught. Get a job. Pay your taxes. Be a good citizen. But those aren't the rules that create wealth. Those are the rules that keep you in place. You've been told save money. It's safe. Kiyosaki says that savers are losers. Why? Because inflation destroys purchasing power. Savings earn less than inflation. Governments print money endlessly. Your saved money quietly loses value every year. You did the right thing. You followed the rules and still fell behind. Let's talk about what this actually looks like. Your parents probably told you to save 10% of every paycheck. Put in a savings account. Build an emergency fund. And that sounds responsible. That sounds smart. So you do it. You save $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. You feel good. You feel secure. You have a cushion. But here's what's happening while you sleep. Inflation is running at 3 to 5% per year, sometimes higher. Your savings account pays you 0.5% interest, maybe 1% if you're lucky. So every single year, your money is losing 2 to 4% of its value. You're going backwards. That $20,000 you saved, in 10 years, it has the purchasing power of maybe $14,000 or $15,000 in today's dollars. You got poorer by saving. Meanwhile, the rich are putting their money into assets. Real estate appreciates. Stocks grow. Businesses expand. Their money compounds. It multiplies. It works for them. Your money sits there and dies slowly. And governments make this worse. When there's a crisis, what do? They print more money. They inject liquidity into the system. They bail out banks and corporations. And every dollar they print makes your saved dollars worth less. You didn't do anything wrong. You were responsible, but the system punished you anyway. Kiyosaki says this is why cash is trash. It's not that you shouldn't have any savings. It's that savings alone will never make you wealthy. You need assets. You need things that generate income, things that grow in value, things that keep up with or beat inflation. But the middle class doesn't know this. They were taught that saving is safe and investing is risky. So they do the safe thing, and the safe thing keeps them poor. This is Kiyosaki's most important lesson. The middle class buys liabilities thinking they're assets. Examples: big house, new car, lifestyle upgrades. They feel rich, but these things take money out of your pocket. True assets are businesses, income-producing real estate, royalties, investments that cash flow. The rich buy assets first. The middle class buys comfort first. That's why one group compounds wealth and the other stays stuck. Let me explain this with a story. Two people graduate college the same year. Same degree, same starting salary. $52,000. Person A, let's call him Mike, does what he's supposed to do. He gets a job. He works hard. After a few years, he gets promoted. Makes $65,000. He buys a nice car. $35,000. Finances it over 5 years. He buys a house. $300,000. Mortgages it over 30 years. He furnishes the house. Big TV. Nice couch. Upgraded appliances. He's living the dream. He looks successful. Person B, let's call her Sarah, takes a different path. She gets the same job, makes the same $50,000, but she lives below her means. She rents a cheap apartment, drives an old car, saves every dollar she can. After 2 years, she has $20,000 saved. She uses that as a down payment on a small rental property, a duplex. She lives in one unit, rents out the other. The rent covers most of her mortgage. She's building equity. 3 years later, she does it again. Another property, then another. By year 10, she owns 4 rental properties. They generate $3,000 a month in cash flow. She quits her job. Same starting point, same salary, completely different outcome. Mike bought liabilities, things that cost him money every month. Car payment, mortgage, maintenance, insurance, utilities. His expenses went up. His income stayed flat. He's trapped. Sarah bought assets, things that paid her every month. Her expenses stayed low. Her income grew. She's free. This is what Kiyosaki means. The middle class confuses lifestyle with wealth. They see someone with a big house and a nice car and think that person is rich. But that person might be drowning in debt, might be 2 paychecks away from foreclosure. The house isn't making them money. It's costing them money. The car isn't an investment. It's depreciating 20% the moment they drive it off the lot. Real wealth is invisible. It's cash flow. It's assets working for you. It's freedom. But the middle class chases the appearance of success instead of actual success. And that's why they never escape. Kiyosaki says the middle class is controlled by 2 fears. Fear of losing money, fear of looking stupid. So they avoid investing, risk, new skills, entrepreneurship. They stay safe. But safety is expensive. The rich learn to manage risk, not avoid it. Think about how this plays out in real life. Someone tells a middle-class person about a business opportunity, or a real estate deal, or a stock investment. What's the first reaction? Skepticism. Fear. What if I lose money? What if it's a scam? What if I don't know what I'm doing? So they say no. They stay in their comfort zone. They keep their money in the bank where it's safe. But what are they really afraid of? They're afraid of being wrong. They're afraid of making a mistake and having people judge them. They're afraid of looking foolish. So they do nothing, and doing nothing feels safe. It feels responsible, but it's the riskiest thing you can do, because doing nothing guarantees you stay exactly where you are. The rich have the same fears, but they handle them differently. They educate themselves. They learn how investments work. They start small. They make mistakes and learn from them. They understand that the biggest risk isn't losing money on a deal. The biggest risk is never learning how money works, never building wealth, working your whole life and having nothing to show for it. Kiyosaki says the middle class is paralyzed by analysis paralysis. They overthink everything. They wait for the perfect opportunity. They want guarantees, but there are no guarantees. There's only education and action. The rich take imperfect action. They move forward. They adjust. They grow. The middle class waits. And while they wait, inflation eats their savings. Housing prices go up. Opportunities disappear. Here's the final trap. Schools teach how to get a job, how to be a good employee, how to follow rules. They don't teach cash flow, investing, taxes, business systems. So the middle class enters adulthood financially illiterate, and illiteracy keeps them dependent. This is the part that makes me angry, because this isn't an accident. The education system could teach financial literacy. They could teach kids how compound interest works, how to read a balance sheet, how taxes function, how to start a business. But they don't. And you know why? Because financially literate people are harder to control. They ask questions. They challenge authority. They don't just accept their place in the system. The current system produces compliant workers, people who need jobs, people who depend on employers, people who are too scared to leave because they don't know any other way to survive. And that's exactly what corporations and governments want. A stable workforce, predictable tax revenue, people who stay in line. Think about your own education. You spent 12 years in school, maybe 16 if you went to college. You learned algebra. You learned history. You memorized facts for tests. But did anyone teach you how a mortgage works? Did anyone explain what a Roth IRA is? Did anyone show you how to calculate return on investment? Probably not. You graduated and got thrown into the real world with zero financial knowledge. So what happens? You get your first job. You have no idea how much to save. You don't understand your pay stub. You see money coming out for taxes and Social Security, but you don't know why or where it goes. You get a credit card because everyone says you need to build credit. But nobody explained that credit card companies make billions off people who don't understand interest rates. You finance a car because the monthly payment seems affordable. But nobody taught you that you're paying $15,000 in interest over 5 years on top of the car's price. You're making financial decisions in the dark, and every mistake costs you. Every year of ignorance costs you. The middle class isn't dumb. They're uninformed, and that's by design. So why will the middle class never be rich? Because they depend on jobs, pay the highest taxes, save weakening money, buy liabilities, avoid financial education. Kiyosaki doesn't hate the middle class. He hates the lie they were sold. And here's what that lie looks like in the final stage. You work for 40 years. You do everything right. You're responsible. You're disciplined. You save what you can. You contribute to your 401k. You pay your mortgage. You raise your kids. You help them go to college. And then you reach 65. You're exhausted. Your body hurts. You want to retire. So you look at your finances. You have maybe $300,000 in retirement savings. Sounds like a lot, but you run the numbers. If you live another 20 years, that's $15,000 per year. Plus Social Security, maybe another $20,000. You're looking at $35,000 a year to live on. After spending 40 years working, after sacrificing time with your family, after missing moments you can never get back, this is the reward. Barely enough to survive. And you're supposed to feel grateful. Meanwhile, the rich retired at 45 or 50, or they never retire because they love what they do and it's not dependent on their time. They have assets generating income. They have businesses running without them. They have freedom. They travel. They spend time with grandkids. They live. Same species, same planet, completely different realities. And the only difference is financial education and the choices that come from it. If this video made you uncomfortable, good. Discomfort is the first step toward change. Because wealth doesn't come from working harder. It comes from thinking differently. If you want freedom, you must learn what the rich learn. Not from school, not from your job, but from truth.